Welcome to Success in Beauty Radio Show, where your dreams, your life, and your inspiration count. Featuring your host, Charlotte Howard, award-winning hair artist, author, speaker, and beauty salon success mentor. Charlotte helps beauty salon professionals create an extraordinary career, business, and lifestyle using their God-given talents. Charlotte's guests will be sharing proven business, career, beauty, and lifestyle strategies to help you grow personally and professionally and put an end to your personal and professional struggles. And now, here's your host, Charlotte Howard.
Thank you all for joining us tonight on Success in Beauty Radio Show. I must say it feels great to be back on the air. Since last week, the snowstorm just kept us away from all of you, and I appreciate all of your patience with us. This week, I do have a couple of updates that I want to share with you. As many of you know that have been following us, the Missing Piece in Business will be launching on March the 17th. And I'm really excited to be a part of that collaboration. And I'm also putting together another collaboration that's specific to the beauty industry called Success in Beauty. And I'm right now looking for co-authors on this project with me, to take this journey with me. So if you're looking for a way to gain more visibility and really package your knowledge and gain more credibility within the industry, then I would love to have you collaborate with me and 29 other authors on this project, and to help put an end to the struggle that is going on right now within the beauty industry. Now, you can learn more about what I have going on by visiting www.successinbeauty.com. And also, if you want to contact me directly, feel free to also visit the website www.thehailartistassociation.org, or feel free to call our office at 877-318-0722. And today I do want to welcome my very special guest, which is Dominic Damaski. He is a loving father of two beautiful children and a devoted husband from a small town named Greensburg, right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Dominic is a graduate of the University of Pittsburgh in business management, a supporter of JDRF, an inspirational author, a motivational speaker, and a successful cold-calling, door-knocking commercial insurance salesman. The loves of his life are his family, business, telling stories, and basketball. Don't Double Bread the Fish, Dominic's first inspirational book, was not written from a pedestal, but from the trenches of digging ditches, picking up cigarette butts, and overcoming countless failures. Don't Double Bread the Fish is not about Dominic, but 39 chapters of the modern day lessons that he learned along the way. Dominic will never pretend to be an Olympic gold medalist or a business titan. He'll be the first to admit he's just a guy who failed, been benched, suffered setbacks, lawsuits, punches to the face, and got up and brushed himself off. Dominic has no ill will of the past, but looks back and finds humor and strength. As the old saying goes, that which does not kill us only makes us stronger. So everyone, without further ado, please welcome my amazing guest, Dominic Damaski.
Hey there, Charlotte. Thanks for having me tonight.
Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, after that nice intro, I feel so much more accomplished than I did before you started reading it.
Oh, thank you. Well, Dominic, I mean, you know, you have such an amazing story that I had to have you on today's show with us, and I would love for you to share how you actually came from, you know, if someone is right now, they're listening, and they want to figure out how to come back from a failure, how can they achieve that?
I'd love to talk to you about it. One of the things I'll say is, at one point in my life, I've failed at pretty much everything I've ever done, whether it be trying out for basketball teams or even asking the girl out who later became my wife. At one point, I failed at everything, whether it be sales or being a restaurateur. I failed at it, but I persisted, and I got back up. I got on the horse. I got off the mat, and I tried again, and that's the start of it.
Absolutely. Dominic, there's so many people that, they give up so easily. So I want to, commend you for, keeping moving forward. And, even though you failed, you didn't stop. You just kept going. What qualifies you to write a book on persistence?
Well, to the point where we were just saying, having failed at everything. I mean, and I'm not afraid to tell people now because that was part of my life. Hey, I failed, and I'm willing to tell you. But what qualifies me is when I was down, when I had a restaurant. I started off with $5,000. I saved up. I had $0. I saved up $5,000, and I turned that into a restaurant with 100 seats. Later on, I went broke in business. I was about $500,000 in debt, wanted by the law, all this stuff, and I didn't give up then. When I played sports growing up, I got cut from every team. I didn't give up, and I ended up playing in college, starting in college. So each step of the way, when I was down, when I was truly punched in the face at some point, had my teeth knocked out, whatever it was, I didn't give up. And just being down all those times, or down, setbacks, whatever you want to call it, just made me stronger. And that's why I am qualified to talk about persistence.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Now, you mentioned telling the world about your goals and your why. Can you share more about that with us?
Yeah, I believe somebody actually brought this up to me the other day, and they said, I believe in telling the world your goals because I say it holds you accountable. When you're willing, once I'm willing to say, hey, Charlotte, guess what? I'm writing another book. Well, now all the people listening to the radio know Dominic Damasky says he's going to write another book. Or when I say I'm going to achieve this or that, once you're willing to tell people that, you better be accountable to those goals because now other people start holding you accountable. But somebody brought up the fact to me the other day. They said, that's interesting. They said, so it's almost like taking an oath. And I had never thought of it that way. And almost anything truly important in the world today, like you take an oath when you're sworn in as president or council, you take an oath when you say your vows, you take an oath in front of all these people. So if it's truly important, you tell people about it.
Absolutely. And, being accountable, having someone, look out for your next book or your next business, it does, help. It's like, okay, these people are looking for it. So definitely I want to make sure I hold up my end of the deal. Right, Dominic? Right.
You said it. I heard you were recruiting people for your next project. And, hey, now you're telling people you have a project. Now you're recruiting people. Now all of a sudden that it's going to be on the bestseller list.
Absolutely. Now, what's the biggest failure you ever came from?
Where did these questions come from? Truthfully, when I was in the restaurant business, I went in as a young man. This was 10, 15 years ago when you could get financing. This was before the mortgage bubble broke. If you had a smile and a writing utensil, you could get a loan. So I refinanced everything. I financed up to my ears, and I went into the restaurant business. And I came from a family of hard workers. I worked hard, and I thought, if I work hard, it's going to succeed. So I just went more and more into debt. I was underfinanced. Even though I was financed to the moon, I was underfinanced. So, and I just kept on. I should have gave up. There was a point where I went too far. I had a warrant out for my arrest, business related, and I probably, had I known you back then, I probably would have called you up and tried to borrow money off of you. So I became a person that I didn't even want to be. That wasn't how I was raised. That wasn't who I was. That wasn't my values, but I pushed it so far that, actually, to add to the story, I was delivering 250 papers, 300 on Sundays. I was working 15 to 18 hours a day, then delivering the papers, wanted by the law for back taxes, all this stuff. My wife was pregnant. I could barely afford to feed her. And I came back from that. That was, you could just I could pile on and on and on and on. And it is what it is. It happened. I accept that. I acknowledge part of, you said earlier, how do you come back from failure? Part of it, the first step is, I really think the first step is acknowledging it. You got to say, hey, I realize I played some part in it. I was underfinanced. I was too young. I could have known the business better. Whatever it was. I take some responsibility. I look back at it. I acknowledge there's things I did that I could have done better. Now I can move on. I can move forward.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, it's a great example of, no matter where you are, that at any point that you are right now in your life, that you can, make that decision to move forward and reach your goals, whether it be personally or professionally. And I love that, what you mentioned already previously. It's, because sometimes people, they get to the point where they feel that, I'm just downright down. I can't move forward. And you are a great example of, someone that's already successful in, up to that step that you failed first, and now you're much more of a success now because of your failures. Now, can a person with nothing, turn their life around?
It's funny you say that. Not funny, but it's ironic because I'm just sitting here, and as you ask that question, I'm thinking, that's probably the easiest time. You have nothing, or you're in this hole. What do you got to lose? Brush yourself off, swallow your pride. Like I said, when you acknowledge it, hey, swallow your pride. I played some part in it. How much worse could it get? So start over. Start at the beginning. Go back to school, learn something. Get on the internet and learn about your crafts. Start from the beginning. You got nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm. I so agree with that. Now, do you think that, by being, so many people's, failures, that they are defined by those failures, as they're, going on in life?
Shoot. Some people, absolutely. They fell, and they're going to talk about it every day for the rest of their life. It's going to be, poor me. I failed. I can't get over it. This couch is comfortable. The world's against me. It will define them. For me, on the other hand, and people like me, hey, it happened. It may have molded me. It may have shaped me. I may wear the bruises. I may have the scars from it, but heck no, it does not define me.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, Dominic, because I mean, like you said, that people are going to talk about you when you're doing good, or are you doing bad, right, Dominic?
Right. People are going to talk about you no matter what, so you might as well try to do good.
That's right. Now, Dominic, do you believe in holding on to the past?
I believe in learning from the past. I believe in growing from the past, but I don't believe in holding on to it. There's a story in the book that it's called Don't Double Bread the Fish is the book, but in it I write a story, and I mentioned that at one point I was wanted by the law. So when I'm in the restaurant business, one of the people that don't come collect from you every day is the government. They're not coming and taking your money. They're not saying, pay us your taxes right now, pay us your taxes, blah, blah, blah. So sometimes you have to pay your employees, you have to pay your rent, you have to pay all these other bills. So there was a point where things got pretty bad, and at one point I had a warrant out for my arrest. It was, like I say, from those debts. I think I had wrote a check that didn't clear, and all of a sudden one day I came to the back of my house, And there it was on the back of my house, a warrant for my arrest. Now, thankfully, that day I got home before my wife, so she didn't see it.
Yeah.
But there it was. And like I said, I never wanted to be that kind of guy. I'm just trying to make it to the next day. I was floating payments thinking, well, I'll pay it back tomorrow. But something happened. It fell through the cracks, and I had a warrant out for my arrest. So when I recovered from it, I paid off that debt, and I think I was able to scrounge up the money, pay them off, and that started it. But I carried this warrant around in my pocket for years. So there's two schools of thought here. One, I was truly holding on to the past. I carried this warrant because it reminded me that I never wanted to be back at that place again. I never wanted to go back there. So when I was starting a career in sales, I made that extra call. I knocked on that extra door because I didn't want to be back to that place. But a few years went by, and one day I pulled that little warrant. It was a little yellow. Listeners, if you've ever had a warrant, this one was about the size of a library card, and had like the officer's name on it or whatever. It said warrant for your arrest. So I carried it in my wallet. And finally one day I'm looking at this little warrant, and I said, I don't need you anymore. I threw it in the garbage. And truthfully, I now no longer was holding on to the past. So what I say to your lovely listeners is throw out your warrant.
Definitely. I agree. Now, why are you so passionate about inspiration, Dominic?
One, because I've leaned on it for years and years, but I always like to credit my dad for giving me an inspirational book long ago when I probably read one book in my whole life at that point, and it didn't finish my schoolwork and that kind of thing. But I got cut from a basketball team, and this was about 7th grade. I got cut and broke my heart because I thought I was going to be the next Michael Jordan, although I had zero athletic ability and no skill and a funny little build. But I got cut from this team, and my dad gave me this book, and it was a little bit over my head, but in it there was scrolls, and these scrolls were lessons that you repeated for 30 straight days. And if you repeated them for 30 straight days, they were supposed to become habit. And one of them was, I must persist until I succeed. Some of them were greet each day with love in your heart. Sun goes up, sun goes down. So there was these little scrolls, and this too shall pass. But the one that got in my mind was, I must persist until I succeed. So I carried that lesson with me throughout my life, and later on I started reading more books, and the Dale Carnegies, the Norman Vincent Peales, the Og Mandinos. I feel I'm a student of those guys. I love them. I honor them, but I go back to that book my dad gave me, and at tough points in my life, I turned to those books, Joel Osteen, those kind of guys, and it maybe made my day a little better. So what I thought I did and try to do is kind of a modern day take. I mean, I may write about getting beat up or getting butter wiped in my hair or going broke. So I write it from a little different perspective. Like you said earlier, I don't claim to be an Olympian or a business titan. I'm still a guy just trying to find success. And so having that passed on to me, it really is close to my heart, something I'm glad my dad passed on to me, and hopefully I can pass it on to other people too.
Absolutely. Now, within your book, do you share about the affirmations that you are talking about with your dad?
Yeah.
Shared with you.
Yeah, I do. And one of the things I think in the book, it's 39 chapters of each one is a lesson where you can read that lesson and say, hey, things aren't that bad. I can do this. I can get through this. Maybe there's a little bit of humor in them, but each chapter has its own moral where you can take it, read it for a couple days and say, hey, you know what? I can take it on the chin, or I can persist until I succeed, or things will get better, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Now, there are so many people out there that miss so many opportunities that come their way. And I would like to ask you, when do you think opportunity is over?
Well, there's two answers. One, the answer that everybody wants to hear is never. Opportunity is never over. I will say, so there's a few ways to go with this. Opportunity truly is only over when you give up on it. So,
There, Dominic?
yeah, I am here.
Dominic, are you there? Dominic, we lost you.
Hello.
Hi, you're back.
See,
We
I,
lost you.
I even fell at being a guest sometimes, but I'll persist.
No, you don't. Yes, I wanted you to share. When do you think opportunity is over?
So what I'll say, and I may have started. I don't know how far I got because I was talking to myself, but I will say nothing in this world is over until you give up on it. So you can say, well, the bell rang, whatever. You can fight another fight. You could say, I'm broke, I'm ready to, I'm done. But until you give up, it is not over.
I agree. Thanks for sharing that. Now, is there ever a point where you took it too far?
Well, I had mentioned to you earlier that there may have been a warrant out of for my arrest. I may have been $500,000 in debt. I may have borrowed from people that I didn't want to borrow from, that kind of thing. But even at that, when I took it, I know at this point, 15 years, 12 years, 10 years, whatever it is later, I know that I gave it everything I had. I know I was willing to push it to the point where I almost went to jail because I believed in myself. So I think there's a line where you can say, hey, I gave it my all. I'm proud to say I gave it my all. I don't need to become a person that I don't want to become. Because I say there is a point sometimes, like if you're down by 20 points at the half, to go back to a sports analogy, if you're down by 20 points at the half, get a new plan. It's okay to sometimes reorganize, regroup. So when I had all that debt and I'm working 15 to 18 hours and all that and had a paper route at 2 in the morning, all of a sudden I also lost my love for that business. So I rewrote my plan and I'm going to go a different direction. So now I'll tell the world about that failure, and I'm not ashamed to have changed directions.
Absolutely. I mean, if you don't share, your struggles that you've had, then everybody think everything is just you didn't have to go through so much to get to where you are. They think it's too easy, and so I'm so glad that you're sharing all of this with us. Now, if someone's goal is so far away, how do they get there? How do they get to that goal?
I believe there's a real simple answer to this question, and it's baby steps, little by little. There's that old statement, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. Just the same way with getting to your goal. The first thing, now that we got up off the mat, we got up off the ground, we brushed ourselves off, you accomplished something by getting up. Now you're setting a goal. Now you don't have to set that wild goal right from the start. Maybe set a goal to research that and learn before you maybe open a business. Maybe go work at that type of business. Maybe study that business online. Maybe learn a little more about it. So it's the baby steps, and then you start inching your way, toe over the line, inch by inch. Even if you're crawling, if you crawl long enough in the right direction, you're going to get to where you want to go.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree. Now, what if their shot never comes, Dominic?
Good one. Your tough one. Your shot is really, it is never going to walk up and knock on your door. If you're sitting at the couch saying, "Poor me, why me? Where's my shot?" It's not going to come. I'll be honest with you. You may get real lucky. Maybe Publishers Clearinghouse knocks on your door, but the reality is you have to go out and get it. You have to take it. You have to not just knock on the door. You have to kick down the door. You have to work for it. You have to earn it. So you got to get out there and make it happen.
Thanks for sharing that. So we can't have you do all the work for us, Dominic.
No, I think that you got to do some of the work yourself.
Okay, thank you, Dominic. Now, Dominic, tell us about the time because your mom was a hairdresser. Tell us about the time you cut your dog's hair.
Uh, well, now you're gonna help. I need you and your audience here now to help me write book two, because what I do is I have stories, and then I try to take a positive moral from them or spin from them. So my mom's a hairdresser, and this is probably early 90s. I'm probably 13, something like that. And my dad, he's a hardworking guy. You know, he was a landscaper, and he used to come home, and if we were like playing Nintendo in the middle of the day, he would make us go outside and lock the doors, so we had to play outside. But anyway, I decided to cut my dog's hair. It was like a Weimaraner, some kind of mutt mix. I decided I was like a skateboarder too. I decided I was gonna give my dog a haircut, and because it was in at the time, I decided to give the dog a bowl haircut.
Oh, not the bowl haircut.
Yeah, I gave him a bowl. This is like hair like a lab. So I put something on its head. I don't remember what I used, and I actually cut real short, like around his neck, and made it look like a bowl.
Oh gosh.
And my dad, when he came home, he was so mad at me.
I can imagine.
He didn't know what was wrong. And I don't know if he was mad at me because I was cutting the dog's hair, if it was such a bad haircut, or what. But now I need you to tell me what the moral is to that story.
Well, even though you didn't know how to cut hair, and no matter what your dad or your mom thought, that you still did it anyway.
Okay, yeah, I might owe you royalties. That's not bad.
What do you think? What's the moral of it?
I'm being honest. I'm still working on it. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a story like that, and they're not necessarily always about me, but I'll take a story about that, and maybe, let's say a friend told me that story, and maybe he started cutting hair on his dog, and then he started cutting hair in college, and then after that he got a job cutting hair, and then all of a sudden he became the next Philip Pelusi or something like that. So that is how the story would be written. Maybe a persistence thing comes from it or something like that.
Absolutely. And that haircut, the bowl cut, I mean, people still give that. Give it to their kids. I mean, that's one cut that I think it makes people feel, the kids, when they would come in and get their haircuts, they're like, "Oh no, mommy, I don't want that haircut anymore."
Right. And then maybe the moral will be that, if something along those lines, maybe if something's truly good, if it's truly great, hey, maybe it's even great on my Weimaraner mix named Predator. I don't know. We'll work on it.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to hearing about your next one. You're gonna have to keep in touch with me about that.
We'll do. I'm gonna follow you and you see what you're up to too.
Oh, absolutely. Do you have any upcoming events that you want to share with our listeners tonight, or any projects that you want to share?
Sure. First, if anybody wants to check me out, I have my website is www.motivationchamps.com. Motivationchamps.com, and you can find me there. You can check me out there. I'm always willing to do a speaking engagement. I love it. I'll try to entertain you. And if you go to the motivationchamps.com, you can find the book there. I sign every book that leaves there, and it's also on Amazon and Barnes and Noble too. But I'm on Twitter all day, every day, tweeting things Benjamin Franklin said, or maybe something Charlotte says, or maybe it's a message of my own about persistence and never giving up, or just fighting through pain or refusing to give up.
Absolutely. And I am already following you on Twitter, and I have to connect with you on Facebook as well.
Ditto. I want to see everything going on with you.
I have to see everything going on with you too.
I want to be bold too.
All right. Do you have any last thoughts that you want to share with our listeners tonight?
Sure, I do. One of the things I'll say is, we talked about in this world anything is possible, and I just want to say that I keep it silly at sometimes, but I have a son who's a juvenile diabetic, and I'm a big supporter of JDRF, and I believe that here I talk all this motivation and talk about how you can do it. You can do it, and here's my little boy. He came down with diabetes when he was like 3 years old and was getting 8 shots a day, and now he wears a pump. And I will say, just like I tell him, and I will tell you, in this world, anything is possible. If my son or any of your listeners, if they want to be champion of the WWE someday, they can do it. And I am so passionate, and now that I have a little boy with, those setbacks, or you would think he has no setbacks, he has no limitations, and neither do any of your listeners. They can accomplish anything that they want to accomplish. My son can, my daughter can, you can, I can, all your listeners can.
Well, thank you so much, Dominic. Can you give our listeners your website again?
It is www.motivationchamps.com.
Well, Dominic, I thank you so much for being on the show with us tonight, and I am looking forward to having you on again in the future and keeping up with what you have going on. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in with us. If you have any questions, again, contact Dominic, and he will be happy to assist you.
Thank you. You were radiant. I'm honored to have been on.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Are you interested in appearing on Success and Beauty Radio Show? Do you have breaking news? Charlotte wants to hear from you. You can contact her at www.thehairartistassociation.org. We will see you next week, same day and time.